What's up, you guys? It's Cody. So it's now been just over 1 month since we got our short-term rental listed and up on the market. We're listed on Airbnb and VRBO, and wow, the experience so far has been just absolutely amazing. I'm going to be giving you a full breakdown on the pros, the cons, the income that we've gotten so far, the types of reviews that we've gotten, the good and the bad here in this video. Maybe you're in a position where you're thinking about doing the same thing. You've got a property in mind that you want to do a short-term rental on. Maybe it's a bedroom in your house or even a basement apartment that you've got. I'm going to give you the pros, the cons, and everything you need to know about getting started with a short-term rental, and also give you some of my advice from what I've learned from doing this for just over a month. Now, if you don't already know, I've been a long-time landlord for over 5 years at this point, so I know the landlord game, and renting to long-term tenants is a much different feel and a much different environment than short-term rentals are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the pros of having a short-term rental. We're going to move on to cons, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to cover the income that I've received from the property so far, the types of reviews that we've gotten and what happens with those reviews, and then also give you a breakdown of the income that I expect to see for the rest of the month of January, February, and even 2019 as a whole. So stay tuned for that, and let's jump into it. So up first on our list of pros for having a short-term rental is that people actually leave and you get a break from having people there in the property. Now, this could be a pro or a con, right? You might be thinking, well, isn't that a negative, right? If people leave, that means you're not getting paid. And in most cases, yes, that is true. But in the case of my situation where we're renting out a basement apartment, or even if you've got a situation where you're renting out a space in your home, you know, an extra bedroom or something, you will appreciate having some time in there where people are gone and you don't have to worry about kind of tiptoeing around or just having people in your space. It's nice to get that break. It's nice for people to leave, and you always get that benefit of having new people coming in. Now, again, you might consider that a con, but I'm going to say it's a pro. It's nice to have new people coming into the property just because you get a turnover, and it gives you a little bit of variety in the process of having this short-term rental. It's also a nice thing because you can block out how many days or even a period of time that you don't want to have somebody there. So for instance, I've got an upcoming vacation and I don't want to have people in the property, so we've just booked it out for that time so that nobody will be there, you know, without us there at the property as well. So this is going to really work out great for us because we've got control of the property and we can really maintain the schedule that we want to. The second item on our list is the higher income potential that you have with a short-term rental. When you've got a long-term tenant, it's really just fixed, right? They come in, they pay a certain amount every single month, and it's nice because you can count on that, but it's a fixed rate every single month. Now, when you do short-term rental, you do have some flexibility. You know, you can earn a lot in 1 month, and the next month you might not earn quite as much, but overall, when you break it down to a nightly rate, you should be earning quite a bit more doing the short-term route. This should be at least 40 to 50% more than a long-term tenant in order to cover the increased costs that you're going to have. Some of those increased costs are going to be utilities, extra wear and tear on the property, and just the general turnover that you have when you've got new people coming every single time, and they're not really taking care of the property, right? They show up, they use it, and then they leave. They're not cleaning it like you would be if you were actually living there. So you should be earning at least 40 to 50% higher with a short-term tenant than a long-term tenant, but you can earn up to double, even triple the amount on a nightly rate that you could renting to a long-term tenant. This is why short-term rental arbitrage is so powerful right now, because you can make vast amounts of money, especially if you're in a market where you've got something really unique to offer. For me, in my market, everybody comes here to ski. We live close to the mountains, and it's about a 20-minute drive to get to the resorts. People want to stay close, but they can't afford to stay at the resorts. My space is a great alternative for that. If you go and stay at the resorts, you're going to spend anywhere from $300 to $500 per night just to stay there at the resort. Now, of course, you're on site, so that's got its benefit, but most people can't afford it that much when they're coming for a week, right? That'd just be so expensive. So my space at about $115 a night gives a much cheaper alternative and still gets them a really close place and something that will work for the entire family or the entire group. This also works great if you're close to the beach or you're close to a national park or something that people want to travel and come see. Big cities are really attractive for this as well. You know, if you had one in New York or Miami, those are going to be great areas as well. Of course, I don't know the rules in all of these different cities, but you can expect that that's kind of what you're going to see. If you're in an area where you've got something unique to offer that people are going to want to come and see and stay nearby to, you're going to have a great opportunity for a short-term rental. The next thing on our list is people have fun and they appreciate being there at the property. They really like to be there. They like having a nice space, which mine is. So that's one thing I'd recommend. If you've got a space, make sure it's nice. When people go on vacation, they're spending money and they're in a mood to spend that money, so they want a nice place and they want to have a good experience. So these people come in, they have a ton of fun, and the best thing about it is they actually appreciate staying there, and so far everybody's taken really good care of the property. And the other thing that's awesome is they're usually gone for most of the day. Like I mentioned, most of the people coming to stay at my place are here for ski trips. Well, when they're out skiing, you've got to leave at about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning to get to the ski resort. By the time the lifts open at 9 o'clock, you ski all day, the resorts close at 4. By the time you get home, get through the traffic and everything like that, which is when it's usually the highest because everybody likes to stay the whole day, it's going to take you about 45 minutes to an hour to get home, get changed out of your clothes and get settled into the place. So that means that most of these people are gone from about 7:30 to 5 o'clock at night. What this means is that I can lounge at home if I choose to and just have a great overall experience without having anybody there at the home. They're only there at night, they're only there to crash, and so it really helps with minimizing the turnover and cleaning that we have to do, and also just having people there at the property. It's really nice. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the cons or downsides to having a short-term rental. Now, my space is a full unit. It's 1,800 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, so there's plenty of space to spread out, and unfortunately that means that there's plenty of space to clean when these guys leave. So when you've got shorter stays, it means that you're cleaning these units more often, and it can become a burden, right? Because you've got people leaving, you've got people coming in, so you're kind of on a timeline and a schedule to get this place clean. We are looking to outsource this at some time in the future, but for now I've decided to just take this on ourselves so that we can just get it done, make sure it's done up to our standard, and not have to worry about it. We do charge a cleaning fee, but by the time you put into this and you pay fees and everything else like that, it does basically wipe out that cleaning fee. And on average, for me and my wife, it's taking us about 2 to 3 hours to get this place clean when we have a turnover. So this does add up over time. It can be a little bit difficult because we have to get it done at a specific time, and it's not the funnest thing to do, right? Changing bed sheets, cleaning dishes, wiping everything down and vacuuming. It's not the funnest thing to do, but it is part of the process. So we're hoping to outsource this, and we're hoping to be able to charge a little bit more once we've got more traction on our listing and we're getting more bookings. People will pay this cleaning fee, and it kind of just compensates us for the time that we spend there or the time that we're gonna have to pay for somebody else to do this for us. Next up is, unfortunately, people just don't give it the same level of care because they're not actually living there for the long term. Unfortunately, we did get a stain on a quartz countertop. I'm not sure how that happened. Quartz usually holds up really well to different types of chemicals and spills and stuff, but nevertheless, we did get some sort of a stain. It's not a huge deal. We can just cover it up with a soap dispenser. It's in the bathroom, but it's one of those things that it's just kind of unfortunate. I don't think it would have happened if we had somebody staying there long term. Who knows? Maybe it could have, but that's just part of the game. You are going to get people who really just don't kind of clean up as well as they would if they were actually living there, because they're not going to be there for the long term. The other thing that I do want to mention here is that it's actually more work to manage this compared to a long-term rental. When you've got a long-term rental, you place a tenant in the spot, they move in, they go about their lives, you go about your lives, and you don't really hear from them except for when rent is due or if there's something that needs to be replaced. This has been the experience that I've had over the last 5 years, and for the most part, it's been pretty nice that it's mostly hands-off. Now, when you do have to place a tenant, it does become a little bit more work, but again, that's just part of being a landlord. When you've got this short-term rental, it's a lot more to manage. You've got people asking you questions, you've got people coming in, they're asking, hey, where's this, where's that, how do I change this? And so you've got to constantly respond to them, and you've also got people coming in, people leaving, so it's just a lot more to manage overall, and you've got to make sure that your listing's performing really well on the platform. So this includes looking at your reviews, it includes looking at your listing, how many views you're getting, is your pricing right, and just all of those factors. So it does become a little bit more to manage compared to a long-term rental. Now, the last thing that I want to mention on our cons list is that the fees for VRBO especially can be a little bit high in my opinion. They've got a couple of different options where you can either pay an annual amount up front or you can just pay a fee every time you get a booking. For me, I went with the fee that I get charged every time I get a booking just because I wasn't sure how many bookings I'd get from the platform, how long we were going to do this, right? There's a lot of variables, so I didn't want to pay, I think it's a $500 fee right up front. So I'd rather just pay a little bit each time I get a booking, but the fees still seem quite high compared to what I'm actually getting in return for having guests stay at this place. So I may end up switching over to the annual plan for VRBO. As far as Airbnb is concerned, the fees are pretty low, so I'm not too concerned about that. I mean, I've got a booking coming up. We're gonna make about $400, and I think my fee was like $15, right? So it's relatively low. I'm usually not one to worry about the fees because it's important to stay focused on the income and how much I can make. I'd rather have that place full. I'd rather get the bookings and make sure that we've got somebody in there as many nights as we want, so we can maximize the income and not worry about the fees. But when it comes to VRBO, I just thought that, hey, they're a little bit high. They're a little bit higher than I'd like to pay. So that's why I added it to the list here. All right, so enough about that. Let's jump into the income for what I've made so far, what I'm going to make in January and February, and what I expect to make for the rest of 2019. So when it comes to the income so far, in December of 2019, we made a total of $1,090. Now, this isn't too bad considering the fact that when most people schedule vacations, they usually book them a couple months or even a half a year to a year in advance, right? So we got this place listed right at the beginning of December and had a couple of bookings that just happened to fall into our laps. One group came for a work trip, but their work trip got extended, and so they had to find a new place to stay, and they just kind of fell into our laps. And two of the other groups came for ski trips. So this put our total income at $1,090 for the month of December, which I think is really good considering we didn't have a ton of ramp up time before we actually put it up on the market to get those bookings. So for the month of January of 2020, we're going to bring in an expected total amount of $1,523. This is way above my expectation. I thought we'd be hovering right around that $1,000 mark for the first couple of months until we get those reviews, but we're way above that now. What happened is we got a couple of early bookings that we had to take a discount on just to get some traction on the property. Once we had that, we decided to up the nightly rate on the remaining nights, and we got two shorter bookings that are really going to bump that number up for us. So this amount, $1,523, is still with 6 open nights. Now the thing with short-term rentals is, right, you've got your space open, you have to have it open for dates that work for the people that are looking at the property. So if your place is booked during somebody's trip, it's not going to be an option for them to book it. So we've got 6 nights open still. We may or may not get some last minute bookings, but $1,500 for the month of January is pretty dang good. Moving on to February, right now we're sitting at a total income amount of $941 that we're expecting. Now, keep in mind that this is because we do have an upcoming vacation and we still got about 5 or 6 other nights that have not booked up yet. So $941, that amount may go up a little bit if we get some of those last minute bookings, but really not too bad considering we're giving up almost a week of having nobody there during the vacation, and we still got those nights open that haven't been booked up yet. So like I said, these are gross numbers that are coming into the bank account after accounting for cleaning fees and subtracting for the platform fees that I have to pay. So for the entire year of 2020, we're expecting we're going to hit close to $20,000 of income for this entire year. Now that we're getting more reviews, we're getting more traction on the listing, I'm expecting that our nightly rate is going to be able to stay higher. We're not having to take those discounts on those early bookings that we had, so we can keep the nightly rate higher and continue to push those bookings. I'm betting that the summer is going to be a little bit slower than the winter season here just because we're in Utah and most people don't come to my part of the state for their summer vacation, but during the winter it's going to pick back up. So as we move into the end of 2020, I believe it's going to pick back up, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have a couple of $2,500 to $3,000 months. That wraps up our video here. Smash that like button if you enjoyed this content. It really does help me out with the YouTube algorithm. Comment down below with your thoughts on this subject, and subscribe to the channel, and then click that bell so that you can get notified when I release new videos just like this one on all things real estate, finance, Airbnb, passive income, and the like. Follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next one.